Okay, now, see, I would not, in this particular system, I would not want to do this by graphing. Because if I were to take that first equation and get y by itself, you see that you would have some fractions involved, and you could have easily messed up with those fractions. Now, if the problem already has y by itself, then you can't easily cannot mess up. You find the slope, find the y-intercept, and then graph. But here, you would have to get y by itself, which there may be human error in that process. So the easiest way to do these, which is solve a system, is either by substitution or elimination. Now here's when you want to use substitution. What is the best way to use substitution? The best way to use substitution is if one of two things. One of the equation has a variable already by itself. Does it in this case? You better say yes. Which equation has a variable already by itself? The second one. What variable is by itself? X. That should not have been a difficult thing to answer. And so since X is already by itself, then I can use substitution. All right, so let's talk about the steps of substitution. First step is to take one of the equations and get the variable by itself. Step one's already been done for you. What equation already has a variable by itself? Okay, so this is step one. So sometimes it helps if in your mind you're doing this in a process that makes sense. So step one is already done for you. X equal negative 3y plus 3. Okay, step two. You go to the other equation. So in this case, when I mean other, do I mean the top one or the bottom one? The top one. I go to the other equation, and first of all, in step one, what variable is by itself? X. So do y'all agree that this is saying that X equals this expression right here? Yes. What does X equal? It equals negative 3y plus 3. Negative 3y plus 3. So I go to the other equation, and in the variable x, I substitute, hence the word substitution. I substitute negative 3y plus 3, because that's what x is. Now, you've got to be mathematically correct. Remember, when I rewrite this, it is a mistake. Step two, it is a mistake to do this 2 times, and again, what's x? Plus 3. Now, I'm gonna stop there for a moment. If you leave it like that, that's incorrect, because according to that little part, the only thing you're multiplying by 2 is what? The negative 3y. What needs to be multiplied by 2? All of x. What is x equal to? So you got to put that in parentheses because you're going to use what property at some point? The distributive property. Okay. So still in step 2. So step 2, I go to the other equation. In place of, in this case, x, I substitute negative 3y plus 3. All right, so here's what we get. I get 2 times x, which we know is equal to what? Negative 3y plus 3, plus what? 5y equals what? Negative 5. And so notice I have an equation, I have a linear equation with what variable? What's the only variable that you see now? Y. And you can get y by itself. You can solve for y. You had that a few semesters ago solving linear equations. All right, so let's solve for y. So step 3 is to solve for y. So let's do step 3.
And is that a 5y on the top or a 3y?
That's right here.
No, on your original problem.
2x plus 5y equal negative 5.
I got 3y. That's why I was 3y.
No, 2x plus 5y equal negative 5.
Oh, yeah.
All right. 2x plus 5y equal negative 5.
Can we keep it?
No, because you're going to probably end up with fractions. I don't want to end up with fractions. Someone said, can we just keep it as negative 3? Someone else put theirs as 5? No, because it could end up with fractions, and I don't want to do a fraction at this point.
Okay.
Okay, now, how do I solve this linear equation? distribute. So I get negative 6y plus what? 6 plus 5y equal negative 5. What's the next step? Combine like terms. What's a negative 6 and a positive 5y? Negative 1y or negative y plus 6 equal negative 5, right? Okay. What's the next step? Subtract 6 from both sides. So I get negative y equal negative 11. Now that's where some of you are going to mess up. Because you're going to say, my y value is negative 11. Your y value is not negative 11. The opposite of y is negative 11. So it's y. Positive 11. So you got to remember that negative y means negative 1y. And then you divide both sides by the coefficient, which is negative 1. So it's y, 11. So I found my y value. So I found so far, if I were to graph those two lines, which we're not, but if I were to graph those two lines, they would intersect when the y value is 11. That's what I found. And all you do now is I got to find the other coordinate. What coordinate is missing? X. All you do is go back to step 1, because isn't in step 1 isn't x already by itself? Yeah. So step 4 is to find the other solution. Let's just do it that way. Find the other point, the other coordinate. So all you're going to do is take y equal 11, go back to step 1, and in place of y, what do you substitute? 11. So x equal negative 3 times 11 plus 3. So that's negative 33 plus 3, which is negative 30. So that's your x coordinate. That's your x coordinate. So what is the solution? What are you going to put in the blank?
Negative 30.
So you can say negative 30 is your x coordinate. What's the y value? 11. All right, so that's your solution. And you can check it. Go back to the original. You're not going to have time to check on a test. But on test 2, then this will be on test 2, solve a system using substitution. But if you did have time, you could check it. So if I just check, just to show you how to do that, go back to the first equation, just like you did the graphing one, which is 2x plus 5y equal negative 5. And in place of x, what do I substitute? In place of y, what do I substitute?
11.
So I get 2 times negative 30 plus 5 times 11, and I want to see if that's going to equal negative 5. Well, what's 2 times a negative 30? Negative 60? You're hesitating with this. What's 5 times 11?
55.
All right, you said it a little bit quicker this time. Is negative 60 plus 55 equal to negative 5? Yes. Now let's check the other one. X equal negative 3y plus 3. So that we're saying the solution, so it better satisfy that equation as well. What's x? Okay, negative 30. So I want to see if that's going to equal negative 3 times y. What's y? Plus 3. What's negative 3 times 11? And what's negative 33 plus 3? Negative 30. All right, so it checks out. So that's substitution. Let's do another substitution. So notice the steps. It took a little bit longer to go through the steps, but after 2 and 3 that you've done yourself, it gets pretty quick for you. You can go through this pretty quick. All right, number 2. Let's suppose we had this one. Yeah. Huh? I'll give it to you next class period. Okay. It'll be posted sometime Sunday or Monday. Okay. But the other alternative I'm just going to say this. All right, so let's suppose we had this one. Y equal negative x minus 5, and then 5x minus 9y equal 3. So y equals negative x minus 5, and then 5x minus 9 equals 3. All right, so I want to do this by substitution. That's the easy kind, because what do you notice about this system?
Y is by itself.
Y is already by itself in one of them. So step one, remember, is to take one of the equations and solve for a variable. Well, step one's already been done for you. So step one, you're going to say y equals what? Negative x minus 5. Okay? Step two is where you take that expression for y, in this case, and you substitute it to the other equation. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Step two. So usually it sometimes helps if you underline this expression here and then draw an arrow, and you're drawing an arrow to what variable though? Y or x? Y, good, because that's what y equals. So step two, I get 5x minus 9 in parentheses times what?
Negative x minus 5.
Negative x minus 5 equals what? 3. That's what that equals. So notice I end up with a linear equation in which is one variable, and so I have experience with solving that kind of equation. What's the next step? Distribute what?
Negative 9.
Negative 9. Okay, negative 9. So I get 5x, a negative 9 times a negative x is a positive 9x. Notice all kind of places you can mess up if you're not careful. A negative 9 times a negative 5 is a positive 45 equals 3. Okay, what's the next step? Combine like terms. What's 5x and 9x? Okay, plus 45 equals 3. What's the next step? Okay. So I get 14x equal a negative 42. What's the next step? Okay, so what's 3? Negative 3? All right. So so far I found the x coordinate of my solution. So if I were to graph these two lines, they would intersect when x is what value? Negative 3. That's what I found. But remember, the solution is a point. So not only do I need an x coordinate, I also need a y coordinate. And so the best thing to do at this point, and I did step 3 already. This was step 3 where you actually solve the equation. So step 4 is where you actually find the other coordinate of the solution. So always go back to step 1 because you already have the variable by itself. So step 4 would be where you would say y equals the opposite. Remember that says negative x, so be careful how you write it. This says the opposite of x, and what's x? Negative 3 minus 5. That's what this looks like. What's the opposite of a negative 3? And what's 3 minus 5? Negative 2. That's positive 3 minus 5, right? Negative 2. So my solution is what point? Yeah, negative 3. X is negative 3. Y is negative 2. That's your solution. And again, you can check and all that. Okay, let's do another one with substitution. Now the first two are easy because one of the equations, the variable y was already, or the variable, one of the variables was already by itself. So let's look at 3. Again, substitution. Let's suppose I had 2x plus y equal 5, and then 3x plus 2y equal negative 8. So 2x plus y equals 5, and then 3x plus
2y.
2y, up here it did not look like a 2, plus 2y equal negative 8. That's a 2y. Now, when I ask you to do something, for the most part, you'll be able to do step 1 pretty easily. So now notice that in number 3, is one of the variables already by itself? No. All right, but it's no big deal. I can get one of them. But you need to choose the correct one, though. You need to choose, and I use the word correct, you need to choose the one that makes things a lot easier for you. For example, would you choose the second one?
No.
No, because if I choose the second one and I get x by itself, I would have to divide at some point by 3, which would involve fractions. Because I would have 2/3 and negative 8/3 at some point. If I get y by itself in the second one, I would have to divide everything by 2, and at some point I would have at least one fraction. So that's what you got to think about. Which one do I need to choose so that way I don't have to deal with fractions? That's the idea. When doing substitution, you don't want to deal with fractions because you can easily mess up. You think about the beginning of this class period today, when some of you had trouble taking half of a number. So, which equation are you going to choose? The first one, and am I going to get x by itself? No, you could. Nothing wrong with that. But you better be very careful because you end up with fractions. You get x by itself. So all this process, which equation are you going to choose? And get what letter by itself? Y. So let's do step 1. So step 1, and I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it just so we can talk about it. So that was my equation. I can get y by itself, which means I have to do what to both sides? Subtract 2x from both sides. So do y'all agree that I'm going to end up with y equals, and I can write it 2 different ways. I can say 5 minus 2x, does not matter, or I can say y equals what? Negative 2x plus 5. It does not matter. Those two mean the same thing. Okay, so that was step 1. So step 1, we picked the first equation, got y by itself. That was the easiest one to deal with. Step 2 now is where I do that substitution. Step 2 is your substitution. So step 2, I'm going to underline this right here. And in the other equation, meaning this one, I'm going to substitute what I have underlined into which variable? Y. So I'm going to do this right here. All right, so step 2 is where you do the substitution. So you'd say 3x plus 2 times y. What's y? 5 minus 2x, or negative 2x plus 5, right? Equal what? Negative 8. All right, so that's where I'm at. So now I have an equation with just one variable, and I've had experience solving that kind of equation. What's the next step? Distribute. Okay, so I'm going to distribute. So I get 3x plus a what? Plus a 10? Negative 4x, right? And then plus 10, right? I agree with the 10, but I think you were missing one term.
No, I was just saying 10 first.
Oh, I see. You wrote the other way. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would have 10 minus 4x?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Thanks for clarifying that. What's the next step? Combine like terms. So what's 3x and a negative 4x? So do y'all agree I get negative x plus 10 equal negative 8? What's the next step? Subtract 10 from both sides. So I get negative x equal negative 18. So what does x equal? Divide both sides by negative 1. So if negative x equals, in this case, negative 18, then that means x is going to be what? Positive 18? So if I were to graph those two lines, they would intersect when the x-coordinate is 18. Now let's find the y-coordinate. So I would go back to step 1 because that's where I have y already by itself. So step 4, you go back to step 1 right here. And in place of x, what do you substitute? Positive 18. So y equals negative 2 times 18 plus 5. What's negative 2 times 18?
Negative 36.
And what's negative 36 plus 5?
Negative 31.
Negative 31. And so my solution then is what?
18.
Okay, yeah, make sure you put them in as an order pair, so make sure x is first, y is second. And you could easily check this in your mind. You don't have to write all this stuff down. So let's just quickly do this verbally. Remember, x is 18. So what's 2 times 18? Right here? What's 2 times 18?
36.
36. And y is negative 13. So what's 36 and a negative 13? I'm sorry, negative 31? 5. Okay, let's go to the second one. What's 3 times 18? Use your calculator if you need to. 3 times 18.
54.
Okay, 54. 2 times 18, I'm sorry, 2 times negative 31 is negative 62. So it's 54 and a negative 62. Negative 8. All right, so you can easily check some of this just by quickly going to your calculator real quick and just verify. Okay. All right, now